everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View Ladies Tea. Tonight, welcome back our friend from Turning Point USA, Erin Elmore, and editor-in-chief of the Post Millennial and Human Events, Libby Emmons. A couple of my favorite gals. Ladies, welcome back to the show. You know, we're on indictment number 3 for Donald Trump. Seems like another week we do another indictment. It's amazing to see how things kind of coincide the day after some major situation, Erin, that happens with the Biden family. You know, like, I don't know, Hunter Biden's plea deal falling through, Devin Archer testifying in front of Congress, and then all of a sudden, just afterward, there's always a Trump indictment. It's amazing to see these things happen. And I will say that the irony of it all is that you had on August 4th last week, same time all this is going on, we got another indictment of Donald Trump. Secretary Antony Blinken is tweeting about how he believes that, I'll just read the tweet for you. The United States strongly condemns Russia's conviction of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. How do we say his last name? Navalny. Yeah. On the politically motivated charges, the Kremlin cannot silence the truth. Navalny should be released. All right. Well, I feel like, Libby, you jumped in on this one. I saw comments. Is this a parody account? This gentleman, Navalny, survived poisoning by nerve agent that was supposedly smeared in his underwear back in 2020. He then was thrown, after he survived that, into jail in Russia, where he apparently is still currently. And it sounds like his group was exposing corruption within Russia. Pretty interesting that you got the Secretary of State here in the United States tweeting about releasing this guy, though.
Yeah, it sort of speaks to an absolute lack of awareness of what's going on here in the United States, where we have the Biden regime, if you will, actually going out there and prosecuting his primary political opponent repeatedly on all of these ridiculous charges. And there are some things that I think every time we talk about these charges have to be mentioned. One, Joe Biden absconded with, like some 1,000 boxes or whatever of classified documents that he was not even remotely entitled to as senator and as vice president. These documents are just hanging out wherever, spilling out of his garage, all over the place. Donald Trump is being prosecuted for allegedly having classified documents that he, as president, would have been entitled to have, that under the Presidential Records Act, he gets to make the determination as to what is a personal record and what is meant for the National Archives, yet he's the one being prosecuted. You also have in the Manhattan case, where Alvin Bragg is prosecuting Trump for falsification of business records, some ridiculous numbers of counts for classifying in bookkeeping terms as legal fees, something that was then allegedly used to pay off a woman with whom he had a dalliance, perhaps. Meanwhile, you have Hillary Clinton, who filed as legal fees payments made to her attorneys that were in turn given to an Oppo research firm that then concocted the Steele dossier, which she then used to try and, accuse Trump of Russia collusion, election tampering. Total lie. She was charged $8,000. The DNC was fined $113,000. These are the charges that we're being met with. And these new conspiracy charges that we're seeing come out of the DOJ in DC are also ludicrous, So I think that it's really important every time we talk about these charges to talk about what's really going on behind the scenes, because repeatedly the Biden regime is prosecuting Trump for crimes that they themselves have committed, and they are attempting to prove that they were committed by Trump. Doing this in an election season, I think, is absolutely ridiculous. They're just going to try and haul him into court repeatedly. But then when we look at something like the Times Siena poll last week, we see that Trump is polling, 37 points ahead of Biden, neck and neck with, 37 points ahead of DeSantis.
Yeah.
And then neck and neck, I think it was 43% even with Biden. So I don't think this stuff is working. Maybe they're going to try and drag somebody else out. But yeah, Blinken definitely has a lack of self-awareness as to what's actually going on within the administration that he's currently working for.
Go ahead, Erin. What you think? What do you think about all of that?
I think Libby did such a good job explaining all of the charges against Donald Trump and why they are so bogus, if you will. But if you look at the most recent case, 45 pages of, in an indictment, and those conspiracy charges are basically trying to say Donald Trump is guilty of political speech, which is protected speech.
Yeah.
And it's almost like these people have completely forgotten that they challenged an election in 2016. We saw Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, all of them were saying that the election was illegitimate. But now if a Republican says it, it's a criminal act? I think not. We also know that back to the Nixon days, although the result was different, that you can challenge, like on January 6th, Mike Pence as the vice president could have done. You can challenge that electorate if you don't think something is completely by the book. And it has been done before. We've seen cases about elections like Bush v. Gore. Right. You don't have to absolutely agree with the outcome of elections. You as the president are allowed to exercise your free speech and say what you want about these elections. And it's really shameful what they're doing. But the problem is I know that these are air quotes bogus charges, but you know who we're dealing with, this DC judge who went very hard on January 6th defendants. She's going to convict him. So if we go down the road, her goal, it won't be before the election in my summation. Her goal is going to be to convict him. DC is 98% Democrat. This jury pool is not going to sit there and be in favor of Donald Trump. So there isn't it's called an interlocutory appeal. You can't do anything until it's over. So the best chance he has with that, if the case were to proceed as I indicated, would be appealing it up to the Supreme Court and, of course, ultimately winning. But that takes a heck of a lot of time. All we can hope is that he becomes president and then pardons himself, or that the case gets moved to West Virginia, Libby's home, as I know that some of the legal scholars are talking about. But although these charges are absolutely ludicrous, I do worry that these people will see them through and try to throw him in jail with his Secret Service, which would be hilarious. Additionally, the Georgia case, that potential case, I love that the sheriff in that town, he must be really far left and really eager for power. He's saying things like, Donald Trump's not different than anyone else. He's going to have a mugshot. And I think I said this one of the other times I was on here. Give him a mugshot. We will autograph those suckers and they will make so much money on the campaign trail. Literally, T-shirts. I would have it framed in my house with Paris Hilton and the Barbie mugshot. You know what I mean? These things, or Elvis's mugshot. These things are iconic. You're not going to make Donald Trump look bad with a mugshot. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, no, by the way, the most famous mugshot, should we get there, in the history of the world. You're never going to find another one like that. And you know who's going to embrace it, of course, is my father-in-law.
Of course. T-shirts.
Yes, T-shirts. College dorm room posters, I see all of it. Yeah, it's all there. It is really all, and you know what, Libby, I like how you went back and you reminded people as to exactly what was going on in each one of these cases, because it seems like they just pile up and pile up and pile up. And I guess the goal, I think we all know, of course, Erin, you said it, the goal is to lock up Donald Trump and put him in jail if they can. But if they can, along the way, persuade a few million people that they shouldn't vote for him, well, then, hey, all the better. Let's do that. The problem is we can't function like this in America. And, you talk about the First Amendment. Political speech is among the most protected under freedom of speech. And you cannot look at anything that Donald Trump said, whether it's what he actually said that day on the ellipse, that we will peacefully and patriotically make our voices heard. You can't look at what he tweeted after that at 3 p.m. when everything was happening. And he told people, we will, please remain peaceful. We are the party of law and order. You can't look at any of these things and say, oh, Donald Trump concocted a plan to overthrow an election. It's ridiculous. And shouldn't you want your president to uphold the Constitution by ensuring that indeed we had a free and fair election? And if any president had any question about it, obviously you should take a step back and ensure that everyone feels good about it. How about Stacey Abrams down in Georgia? Speaking of Georgia, she still thinks that she should be the governor of Georgia. She still never said that she lost that election. So it's all so crazy and all so ridiculous. And I assume that the next time we all gather, we'll probably have another indictment in Georgia under Donald Trump's belt. But you know what? I really don't believe it's working. I really do believe that every time this happens, people start to realize, wow, this is bigger than just about Donald Trump. This is about them trying to weaponize all these systems against one person who might expose a lot of what's been going on in Washington, D.C. I want to talk really quickly about the smartest guy that Joe Biden knows, Hunter Biden. Apparently, Hunter and his wife rented a nice little beach house for themselves out in California. And when they moved in February 2021, they recently moved out. And according to the people close to this was not from the owners, they said that they completely trashed the place, that they were rude and entitled, left the property in disarray and disrepair, and stiffed the owner for somewhere in the neighborhood of $80,000 in unpaid rent. Libby, Hunter and his wife, Melissa, were renting this home for about $25,000 a month. And, you know, I understand with my last name, there's some scrutiny that comes with it. There's some people that I know it's shocking, don't like me just based on my last name. So I'm very conscious everywhere I go of making sure I leave a good impression with people. For whatever reason, doesn't seem like Hunter Biden was very concerned about that, especially if he's got $80,000 in unpaid rent, which apparently the owner of the house said he felt embarrassed for him, and that's why he didn't press charges and take them to court. Wow.
Embarrassed?
Go ahead, Libby. What you think?
Yeah. So what is that? It's only a couple of months, really, of unpaid rent with that kind of price tag, which, you know, call me a plebe or whatever, but $25,000 a month for your house. Although I guess when you can do things like pull in $83,000 from Ukrainian energy companies, that's really, you know, that's
not 1 month. That's 1 month of working for Burisma. This guy couldn't cough it up, really?
Well, it's harder to do that once you're under intense scrutiny and everybody knows what's going on. Like, how's he possibly supposed to get a job now? Yeah, I saw this article. I wasn't really surprised to find out that Biden and his wife trashed the place. They've trashed their reputation. They've trashed their family name, although, you know, that was already in the toilet. We just didn't know it yet. And we saw from Burisma the FBI documents, you know, that the Burisma executives thought it was going to take a decade for it all to come out. And here we are. But yeah, like, they should clearly be ashamed of themselves. This is not how you treat somebody else's property. And it's certainly not how you want to go out there and step into the world as some sort of entitled bratty man who can smoke a lot of crack, hire a bunch of hookers, behave so horribly, defile.
Get kicked out of the military.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, and you know, for shame.
Yeah. People. I mean, Erin, this is the first family of the United States of America. Conduct yourselves with a little bit of dignity. Try a little bit. Try not to trash a house. Apparently, they broke some stereo equipment, and whenever the person came to fix the stereo equipment, they were rude and uncooperative, even though apparently they had broken it. It just makes me upset because I didn't vote for Joe Biden, had no intention on that. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of this family, but I do expect that if you are a representation as an extension of the president of the United States, of our country, you know, you might want to conduct yourself with a little decorum.
Well, I think it comes from parenting. This behavior comes from the top. But, you know, I don't think they care. And I think that remember when a few things would come out about Hunter and 2 days later he would be coming off of Air Force One or going to fancy dinners at the White House? They don't care. They think they are above the law and their conduct completely doesn't matter. It's almost like he thinks he is a king ruling over us, to use Libby's word, the plebes, and we better shut up and take it because we have absolutely no choice. And this is the first family and they can behave any way that they want. And I'm so saddened that this homeowner did not want to take Hunter Biden to court because $80,000 is a lot of money. And his answer was because I was embarrassed for him.
apparently.
I think he was probably a Democrat and didn't want to get caught up in litigation with the Biden family.
Yeah,
you know?
I hope
But-
he's embarrassed for his vote
Biden's
if that's
job?
the case.
How's he paying this rent? What does he do for a living? He's
Right.
The finger paints.
Art. He's an artist.
Oh,
Finger
that's right.
paint. Yeah.
Artists traditionally make really good incomes and can afford to live
In
exceedingly well. So
yes, of course. The term starving artist does not apply to Hunter Biden.
Certainly not. Not when you start painting with a buyer already in mind who is like a donor to your dad's campaign.
Right.
Yeah.
Or anyone from China, as it turns out, who's bought Hunter Biden's finger painting.
Does the man have any skills? Is he capable of doing anything? My son saw his paintings recently and was like, what are these? They're worse than what I see in hotel rooms. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh, bless his heart, as we say in North Carolina. Speaking of China, we can't take our eye off of China. Erin, I started reading The 100-Year Marathon because you told me that it was such a fascinating book by Michael Pillsbury. I'm like halfway through. Want to just suggest it to everybody out there because you're right. This is really, if you read this book and you start to look at where we are in this country and with China right now, it is terrifying because this guy knew exactly what was going to happen a long time ago. And he literally gives you China's play-by-play and how they're going to take over as the superpower of the world. But China is really doing everything possible to try to take that position. We know they're playing Joe Biden, and whether it's that Joe Biden really just doesn't have a shot because, God bless him, he doesn't know what day it is, or because, I don't know, his family got millions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party, via his grandkids and nieces and nephews and everybody else. For whatever reason, he's not doing anything about China. We had the spy balloon. We've had time after time where he could have asked about the origins of COVID to Xi Jinping, doesn't bother to do that. Recently, last week, 2 Navy sailors from California were charged with giving sensitive military information over to China. These are 2 separate situations. They were not supposedly working together. Over the weekend, we saw that China and Russia were posted up with some warships right outside the Aleutian Islands there, off the coast of Alaska. That's a little concerning. And Libby, I want to ask you, you guys in the Post Millennial wrote about Jennifer Granholm meeting with the CCP. And then a couple of days later, turns out we released 50 million barrels from our Strategic Petroleum Reserve of oil. What's going on with China and the Biden administration and Joe Biden? I've always been very concerned about China because Donald Trump told us from the first day he decided to run for president, we got to keep our eye out for them. Feels like we're in a really dangerous spot right now.
It does feel like we're in a dangerous spot, and it makes you start to wonder what is it that is so special about China that we keep giving them everything we've got. We're giving them our oil. That seems absolutely insane that we should be selling our hard-earned strategic oil reserves to a nation that seeks to destroy us, essentially. And we're doing that at the same time as the Biden administration, and Biden tweeted out today that he has plans for us to be, fully sustainable, by 2035, which is, super soon, turns out. So not only are we selling China our strategic oil reserves, which we should be saving for ourselves and using to make ourselves energy independent, we are also funneling lots of money into China's economy because China is the nation that is making the most solar panels and wind turbines and all of these batteries and this kind of thing. So what is it that we're doing? Why are we pouring so much money into China? We recently had Blinken start talking about how it was so important that we maintain good relationships with China and that we make sure that they are a partner in fighting this ludicrous global warming thing, which is just another control mechanism that is going to be used against us to lock us down and keep us in our homes. At least that's my tin hat theory on that. I find it absolutely absurd. We also did see that there is perhaps some evidence that shows that the Bidens were taking money from China. Perhaps it's going to be another decade before all of that comes out. But I really don't like to see it. I don't like to see how China is encroaching on Taiwan. You have Biden saying, oh, we're going to militarily defend Taiwan. And then you have the administration and the White House walking that back. Which one is it? Are we really going to be seeing ourselves at war both in Eastern Europe and in Taiwan? And now they're encroaching on Alaska. We sent a fleet out, I think, today to go deal with that situation. It really does seem like at every step of the way, the United States is being baited and then taken for all we're worth by nations that don't care what happens to us so long as we go down. And I don't know why we are sitting back and just letting this happen. Why can't we stand up for ourselves? Why don't our leaders love this country and care what happens to us and our citizens?
Because they're on the take. They are on
I think you're right.
the take.
Well, Erin, in this book, 100-Year Marathon, basically where we are right now is all part of the plan. Yeah. Because according to the way that things are supposedly designed to operate in China, 1949 to 2049 is the 100 years. And by 2049, the goal would be that China will have taken over as a superpower of the world. And the way they do that is talk about a war, Libby. There's a war going on that we don't even know about. These people have strategically tried to operate so that they seem like they are not a threat. Oh no, we are very weak. We are nothing like the United States of America. We could never be that good. Meanwhile, they're stealing all of our intellectual property. Yep. Meanwhile, they're stealing all of our military plans via the guys from the Navy who apparently are selling us out, among others. We know
they manufacture 90% of our antibiotics over there.
There you go.
They're using Uyghur slave labor to make all of our products. They've taken our American manufacturing, taken it over there, using slave labor, sending us back inferior products of which they stole our intellectual property from. They're flooding our border with fentanyl on purpose. They're ruining our children's brains with TikTok in this country. They're pushing the trans agenda so we have infighting about pronouns instead of having a strong military, while they're teaching their children math and science and how to assemble and deassemble firearms and building a strong military. They are making and starting coal plants basically by the day, while we're sitting here having to change our light bulbs and not allowed to use a pizza oven and have a gas stove. All of these things are basically orchestrated by the Chinese Communist Party to destroy us one way or the other. And this fentanyl coming across the border, there was an article today that they found a brand new route that they had never seen, these Chinese trafficking tunnels, if you will, and it's working. You're seeing people die left, right, center, every socioeconomic status. They are destroying our country without guns, without bombs, but let me tell you, it's a war.
Yeah, it's a war. And I'll tell you what, we better get somebody in the White House in 2024. I mean, I wish we could do it today. Yeah. Who is paying attention to this and is not playing with China. When Donald Trump was in the White House, it was a very different situation with China. We had 2 trade agreements with China. He kept a very positive relationship with President Xi, but it's peace through strength. We exuded strength as a country. I don't think they wanted to even test anything when Donald Trump was in office. Think about where we are right now. Everybody wants to test it out. They saw how we left Afghanistan. They see how weak we are on the world stage. They saw what happened between Russia and Ukraine on our watch, with Joe Biden at the helm, so to speak. I mean, it's really frightening. If we're not careful, things could go south very quickly as it relates to China. So,
Laura, one thing. Remember that I just thought of the story you told me about the truckers?
Yes.
You should tell that story. It's also relevant.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember the story now because Erin told me the story.
There is these Chinese trucking companies that have bought a lot of our truck lines here in America.
They push the environmental stuff here in America so that we can't do anything that doesn't cost an exorbitant amount of money, right? So all the trucks have to be retrofitted with all of these things so that they're not emitting so much carbon dioxide and fossil fuel emissions, et cetera, right? Meanwhile, what are they doing? You think they're doing that stuff over in China? They're not dealing with any of that. So obviously their products are going to be far cheaper than the ones here. They own these trucking lines, but they do it on purpose so that everything here in America will cost more money, and we're forced to go to China to buy everything. It's terrifying, and no one even pays attention to it. No one talks about it, but it's this kind of secret underground, unspoken war that really does exist, if you want to call it that. I mean, they're playing 4D chess and we're over here playing checkers. I hate to say it, but that's exactly what's happening. And one day, by the time people realize it, it'll probably be too late.
And remember, they're buying all of our farmland. I don't even know if I said that.
Too.
So, yeah.
And what about all these Confucius institutes that like they're funding schooling? You know how like maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, people were very excited that their children were learning Mandarin in public schools? Where do you think that money came from? Where do you think that funding came from? It was way to have basically China infiltrating our public schools as low as kindergarten all the way up until college. And if you don't believe me, look it up. They were called Confucius Institutes. Now they're sort of changing their tune a little because people are getting wise to it, but they want to indoctrinate our children.
Australia too.
Yeah.
Say that again, Libby?
They have these all over Australia as well.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I hope people are watching. Something that I hope we didn't forget about, although I know we all tried to. Remember when Bill de Blasio was the mayor of New York City? God,
I can never forget this.
We try to forget. We really do try to forget, because I lived in New York during this era, should we say. Saw New York City just kind of run into the ground. Obviously hasn't gotten much better. But let me just play this clip so that everyone is reminded of something. I saw this on Instagram today, and I was like, I can't believe that this actually happened, because if you saw this even now, but think about like 10 years from now, or even 10 years ago, people would be like, is this real life? Let's just play it really quickly for people. Here we go.
Free fries when you get vaccinated? I got vaccinated. You're saying I could get these delicious fries? Wait a minute. But there's also a burger element to this? Let me check with Bill Neathart. Is it too early in the day to eat a burger? No. This can be breakfast? Okay. I want you to look at this and think about, again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination.
Well, there's Bill de Blasio, really embarrassing himself. And my favorite part, Libby, is that he didn't want to offend anybody who might not like burgers. The whole stunt is so stupid and crazy. Think of this when you think of getting vaccinated. Some guy slobbering all over a burger at like 8 o'clock in the morning and fries. That's what
Talking with his mouth full.
But don't.
No,
Yeah, but don't.
It's not a burger, Laura. It's a burger element. Remember there's a burger element to this.
I mean, let's never forget how crazy we got. And I think they're hoping we forgot, Libby. I haven't forgotten how crazy it all was. That's how they tried to incentivize people in New York City to get vaccinated from COVID-19, really.
Yeah, they really did. That is what they did. They worked really hard to try and force us all to do it. And I think it's so important to recognize, too, that it was really great that the Trump administration worked hard to get vaccines made. The problem was the mandates. The problem was the enforcement. Once a medication exists, it's up to individuals and families to decide how they're going to deal with it, if they want to take that medication or not. And I think that's getting forgotten these days, and I wish it would not get forgotten. The problem with the vaccines was the enforcement and the mandates. And Bill de Blasio was exceptional at pushing those mandates. He demanded that every New Yorker get vaccinated if they wanted to go out to dinner, if they wanted to attend any cultural events. To be part of public life in New York, you had to get vaccinated. And I remember so fully being conflicted because I was not on board with the vaccination. I'm not into medicine really. I'm sorry, there's a massive storm outside right now.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, it's very loud.
I love a good storm.
But yeah, I found that so upsetting at the time. And I did end up getting vaccinated because I wanted to go out for dinner with my friends. But then when they started pushing it on kids and they demanded that if my son wanted to go for dinner, he had to be vaccinated, I was not on board with that. I was just like, you know what? It's enough. Like, it was bad enough when you did it to me. You're not doing it to my child. And we just started driving to New Jersey to go to the Jersey diners, which, they're better than New York diners anyway. We were just going to Dave & Buster's in New Jersey. But Bill de Blasio was a wreck of a mayor. He was horrible. The thing that I most remember about his time in office during COVID was when he banned all New Yorkers from going to Times Square to see the ball drop, which, most of us don't do anyway, but he did empty the square. And then he stood in the middle of the square dancing with his wife like some kind of crazy, freakish oligarch, despot, dictator. And we all got to watch it live on TV while Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper were getting drunk on CNN, and they were livid. And I thought to myself, we are all on board with these two gentlemen right now in Times Square freaking out about this despotic dictator dancing with his wife while the rest of the city is locked in their homes. That man was a travesty.
No, by the way, that is 100% accurate. Erin, I think they do want us to kind of forget about all that enforcement. We're coming up on a big election year, and I mean, they probably wouldn't want people to think about how crazy things got here in America with Joe Biden and his vaccine mandates, the people who lost their jobs, how awful it was. They would like us to forget about all that.
Oh, and now there's a lot of gaslighting going on, saying that we didn't require you to do anything.
Oh, yeah.
There is so much gaslighting. And when you say to someone that was pushing the vaccine on you and telling you were a grandma killer, I'm like, how do you feel about your vaccine now? They were saying things, remember the pandemic of the unvaccinated? If you get the vaccine, transmission will stop with you. The lies just built upon lies and built upon lies. And how many lives were harmed in the process? Kids in these liberal cities that had to wear masks for so long or had to learn from home. In a lot of these inner city neighborhoods, I had a friend who was a teacher, actually, and she said a lot of these homes don't even have Wi-Fi, and the kids get 2 of their 3 meals a day from school. And all of that was taken from these kids. And now we're seeing in many of these cities, kids aren't reading or, able to do math at grade level. And it's so sad how now it's sort of like, come on, it was no big deal. And I hope that those videos that we've all seen circulating online continue to circulate, because there were mandates, there were jobs lost. So many people didn't get to see their loved ones in the hospital or have babies or in the nursing home, even have weddings or gatherings. And you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube on that one. There was a lot of heartache that was caused. And I think it was a test for controlling. I don't think Republicans these days, we don't get as many victories as we should. But I think the way that people fought back, mostly conservatives, on the vaccine mandates and on the mask mandates. And I do believe, although he's not my choice for president, Ron, obviously, I'm on the Trump train, that Ron DeSantis, he should have just stayed being a Florida governor, because he did a great job during COVID, right? He pushed back on everyone. He pushed back on Joe Biden, and he really gave Florida the sort of superpower of conservatism that it is now, because people were flooding here like crazy. All of the schools were open. All of the summer camps were open. People that would come from the Northeast, they would be like, you're allowed out of your house?
Oh
it was like
so
two
sad.
different worlds, whether you were conservative or liberal. And, I think, and it was amazing. And remember, to go back to de Blasio dancing like a despot, don't forget about Gavin Newsom's little trip to the French Laundry.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Or Nancy getting her hair done. Remember Nancy Pelosi?
Oh, that was insane.
Yeah.
That was insane. I met the woman who owned that hair salon.
Oh, really?
At a Turning Point event. She lost everything, but she said that they tried to close her down so many times. They were so nasty. And then all of a sudden, she was trying to put food on the table for her young kids. And then all of a sudden, the same people that are trying to shut down her business and fine her every single day waltzes in there with no mask on. And she said, she just basically pulled the video and almost exploded. And she said overnight, her life completely changed. She had to go into hiding, death threats, but now she's so much happier on the other side, having exposed.
Really? Because
this is the
allowed her salon to do the secret hair.
It's not fair that they're doing this. And what about Lori Lightfoot? Remember her getting her hair done? She said, well, I'm a public figure. It's like, oh, so you're better than us.
Let's bring up all those videos. Let's put those up in Times Square. Speaking of Times Square, let's remind people.
That's actually a great idea.
Right, over the course of the next, over the course of the next year and a half, let's remind people, because we never want to go back to any of that. That was awful. That was the most un-American time in the history of this country. I don't know what the heck these people were thinking, but let's not let them forget about that.
Nope.
Before we go, got a hot debate out there. I'm a big food person. I'm one of those that before, if somebody's like, oh, we're going to go to this restaurant, I will go online before if I have time and like kind of look at the menu and I'm like, oh, here's what I want to have. Like I get kind of into it.
That's why you always put together such a good order. I'm like, just go ahead.
Yeah, well, good. Thank you. I'll
and
take
I
that.
know what your food, you are a big fan of this food item. Go ahead. I don't want to.
I'm a big fan of burrata.
I have burrata with you every time.
Yeah, I always order. If it's on a menu, I'm ordering burrata because I love it. Okay. New York Magazine wrote an article about burrata, and the author of this article, Tammy Tekel-Mariam, I believe is how we say her name. Yep. She was not impressed with burrata. She says that the popular cheese is overpriced and a big fat blob of boring. She had a horrible incident, apparently, Libby, where she got burrata on a piece of pizza, which, by the way, I can't think of anything better. Let me tell you something. There's a pizza that I love. It's got burrata. It's got sliced pears on it. It is amazing.
Where is that?
Yeah. Oh, it's by us in Florida, Erin. I'll take you there soon.
Okay.
And she said, when I finally found a spot to make it work, the mountain of cream overwhelmed the other aspects of the pizza. That's why I want it. I want as much of that coming on this pizza as I possibly can. Give me all the burrata. Where do you stand, Libby? Are you a burrata fan or not? What do you think?
I love burrata, frankly. Oh. I love it so much. I took my son, last time we were in New York, maybe last month or whatever, I took my son out for Italian. And we went to this nice little, we went to this fancy little Italian restaurant in Chelsea. And I ordered a burrata salad. It came with like figs and arugula and whatever else. It was delicious. My son was like, what's that? He takes a bite of it. He was like, oh, that's so good. He ordered his own, we're just sitting there eating burrata. I will order it every time it's on the menu. Yes, it's expensive. It's like worth it. I mean, it's just worth it. Yeah. It ups your caprese salad like nobody's business. It's so spectacular. A little salt, a little tomato, a little basil. You don't even need any of that, but it's so good. And like you said, with pears, it's so nice with fruit.
Amazing. So
nice with fruit.
Yeah, I kind of felt like, first of all, I'm not going to guess as to what Tammy's voting leanings are.
Oh, I can tell you because I looked her up.
Oh.
You could guess.
Yeah.
So to me, well, first of all, she talks about racism in the food industry. That's like what's on her Wikipedia. So
she like, if you're sucking the life out of burrata and you don't want us to have it anymore, something is wrong with you.
Well,
and I'm guessing you're probably voting.
I'll tell you because I was reading.
Go ahead.
I was reading through her Twitter feed and it was like something about her top 7 favorite foods. This is when I realized she had no credibility. This woman, I can't believe it's even tofu.
No.
Girl, bye. She's like,
it is hard to make tofu a positive. It's hard.
Yeah, she said it was one of her 7 top favorite foods of the summer, or whatever the tweet was. And it was like, instead of edamame at an Asian restaurant, I get tofu. I was like, girl, so you're hating on burrata, but you're saying it's too creamy and it's a blob, yet tofu is delicious. I think she was just trying to get some clicks.
Exactly. She knew this was going to be a hot button debate. And she sucked us right in because as soon as I saw that, I stopped scrolling and I was like, I'm sorry, what is this about? But you know what? This is kind of just more evidence to me that these people are just joyless. If you really can't find the joy in burrata, I don't know what to say to you. However, let me just read some of these comments because I really was kind of impressed on both sides of this debate. Somebody said, I feel attacked. You're entitled to your wrong opinion. That's okay. Who hurt you? Another one. The thing is, burrata is made by very good artisans and made from superior milk, and it's pretty damn excellent. I agree with that. Now, let's go on the other side of the coin with the burrata debate. Somebody says, finally, been saying this for months. Bufala mozzarella will always be king. No, not if burrata's on the menu. Get out of here. Thank you for this much-needed truth-telling. These people must be delusional. I'm so there with you. A fresh, beautiful, grass-fed mozzarella di bufala is far more interesting flavor-wise, or ricotta salata, or feta. Not in my book, but
I don't
I
like
digress.
ricotta salata at all. I like ricotta, but
Yeah,
I
me
don't like
too.
ricotta salata. Ricotta salata is so flavorless and boring. But I do think there's one thing that's true with this. Mozzarella is like the best cheese. Mozzarella,
Oh gosh, yes,
Gouda.
I love.
These are my favorites. These
Sharp
are always
cheddar.
found.
I feel like we need to go get.
I have so much
Manchego.
cheese in my fridge. I have almost as much cheese as I do extra incandescent light bulbs because I refuse to live in bad light.
Well, I think, aren't those the only light bulbs you're allowed to use anymore or something?
No, you can't buy incandescent ones. You have to buy like the
Oh.
LED or the halogens. Whatever light makes you look absolutely the worst and
Yeah.
feel like the most, those are the legal light bulbs.
That's probably.
I
That's
hope
accurate.
the aliens come and take all of us. I can't take anyone.
Oh my gosh. Well, if we're talking about burrata being bad, then we're probably close to that spot.
It's the end times.
It's the end. All right. Well, Erin and Libby, thank you, ladies, both for joining us for another great episode of Ladies Tea here at The Right View. To everyone at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And we'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View. So I'm like a lot of people. I love to wear an Apple Watch, but I hate how it looks. And I scoured the internet to search for the best looking Apple Watch cases I could find, and I found it. goldandcherry.com. They have absolutely beautiful watches, as you can see here. Everything is waterproof. Everything looks good with different outfits. You can get sporty, you can get fancy, but they are great quality, made out of Delaware in the United States of America. And they have been kind enough to give me a promo code that I can share with you if you want to get your hands on one of these as well. It's Lara T, L-A-R-A-T is the promo code to get yourself a discount at goldandcherry.com. And not only do they make Apple Watch cases, they also make great products for iPads and iPhones, keyboards, your desktop, everything you could possibly need. Goldandcherry.com. Use promo code LARAT so you can get yourself one of these today too. At The Right View, we're very proud of the fact that we are independent. We get to say everything that we think and everything that we feel. We have no woke companies guiding us or telling us what we can and cannot say. We are always going to shoot you straight and give you the facts as we know them. And that's why it's important to support independent outlets like The Right View. My name is Lara Trump, and I think Mike Lindell is a patriot. He is someone who loves this country, is willing to fight for this country. I love MyPillow because not only are MyPillows made in the USA by American workers, but they're great products, and they're so great that not only do I use them in my own bed at night, my children actually requested. My daughter the other day went to the closet and pulled out a MyPillow and said, "This is the pillow that I want to sleep with." And I gotta tell you, she loves it and will have nothing to do with any other pillow. So it's a big hit around our house. My dogs also happen to sleep on MyPillow dog beds. So all around the Trump household, we're big fans. If you go to mypillow.com today and use promo code Trump, again, promo code Trump, you will not only save money, but you will help us continue this show and other shows like it and help us continue the fight for the future of America. Inflation has impacted all of our lives. I don't think anyone can go to the gas pump or the grocery store without noticing that it is a major factor. And unfortunately, it's not going anywhere. It doesn't seem like it's going down in the way that we would like it to. And one way to protect your money is by investing in precious metals, gold and silver. That's always been a great way to make sure that you keep your money and you keep it safe. When you go to bh-pm.com, use promo code Trump. That way, if you decide you want to invest in gold and silver, you'll save yourself a little bit of money. We live in a time that's very interesting. A lot of us out there feel like a lot of our rights are slipping away. And if you're like I am and you want to have the right to choose whether or not to have a vaccine, how to live your life freely, and you're looking for a great doctor, I've heard amazing things about Dr. Sherwood. He's somebody who you should really check out and check into, and it'll help support this program and keep us going. So go to sherwood.tv and use promo code Trump. Again, sherwood.tv, and use promo code Trump. You can save yourself some money and help us keep our program going.